Hi friends!
Welcome to
our Disney Diary. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Georgia.
And we are two sisters from Australia who have been accepted into the Disney Cultural Exchange Program. So we will be working at Walt Disney World in August of 2018.
Shock, shook, quaking. We're ready. We're ready.
Perfect. So today we thought we would help all of you fellow Australians out there how to get into the program through an application and interview stage. There aren't many videos on this, so we thought we would just share our knowledge with you.
So throughout these videos, we're wanting to do like little diary entries. So this will be the first diary entry of many, where we're going to talk about the application and the interview process. So our experiences with that, and you know how long it took to like get emails back, you know, who doesn't want to know when they get that back. So yeah. So how we actually found out about the program was it actually came up on my Facebook newsfeed, which was like really interesting. Because when we went to Disney World like 4 years ago?
Yes.
4 years ago, so long. We actually saw like a lot of Australians working there as lifeguards and all that. And I always thought, oh, who doesn't want to work at Disney? I need to do that. So it was actually kind of like a weird twist of fate that this happened. And I told Brooke about it and I was like, you have to apply. And we applied on February 12th of this year, 2018. And we heard back approximately 5 weeks later.
On March 22nd.
March 22nd. But we do know that the applications were open in September, so we were a little late to apply, but it did mean that we didn't have to wait as long, which is good.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to apply a little later. Your spot is not going to be in peril at all. We have a friend who actually applied in March, like a week before the interviews, so don't worry if you don't want to wait that waiting game, apply a little bit longer, but if you're eager, totally do it whenever they open.
Awesome.
So for your application, they do ask you what your work experience is, to upload a resume and a cover letter as well. I didn't think that they would actually read the cover letter or the resume, but at the interview we found out otherwise. Jill, the wonderful lady who does all of the Australia and New Zealand interviews, has read and gone through every single application that is sent through. So please make sure that your resume is perfect and that your cover letter really exudes your personality and how much you do want to work for the Disney company. Don't make it too long though, just make it a page, and resumes, probably 2 pages are the limit. And with your work experience, just be really detailed and just show your personality as much as possible.
Even with work experience, it doesn't have to be, like if you don't have a lot of work experience, they're really into volunteering, especially anything involving children, because obviously that is mainly Disney's largest customer. But also making it bright and using keywords like magical and experience, and obviously this is a cultural exchange program, so obviously putting in that, like, I'd really love to experience that new sense of culture, putting that into the resume, and I think we both did that and we were successful, so you know, you could use that.
Also, just so you know, if you are talking about customers or anything in your cover letter, do refer to them as guests, as that's what Walt Disney World does call them. And in the interview, I've had a couple of friends who said customers, and Jill did correct them to say guests as well.
Yeah,
so just be careful.
Not good. Step 2. After you have applied, if you're fortunate enough to get an interview, you'll get an email saying, you know, invite to a presentation, because you have about an hour and a half presentation.
Mine was 2 hours.
Yeah, mine was like an hour and a half. I think it depends on how Jill's
Yeah.
feeling. But you have a presentation, and then they do interviews in like slots for the rest of the day. But we received our interview invitation on March 22nd, and mine came at like 1 AM and Brooke's came at
2 AM.
2 AM.
Yeah.
So I think they just kind of go through like who applied first, because she applied after me, so I don't know if that works.
Yeah.
Because we're in Brisbane, so we were fortunate enough that they were offering interviews in our city, and they were doing it for 2 days. So Brooke went on May
14th, which was the Monday, the first day of Brisbane interviews.
and I went on May 15th, so the Tuesday, the second day. And that was really interesting. I think on my day she was a little exhausted, understandably. But what was your experience with her?
So my experience, very lovely lady. Probably if you guys have been invited into an interview, you're watching this video like one of the tens of millions. Jill is absolutely amazing. She is so nice.
Yeah.
So in the morning, make sure you get to your location about probably like half an hour to an hour beforehand. I scheduled my bus trip to get there in half an hour beforehand, and the traffic that morning was the worst traffic Brisbane had ever seen the entire year. So I literally got to the presentation room a minute at 8:59 when the presentation started at 9 AM. And Jill didn't really say anything or recognized it, but obviously she would look at some people and be like, punctuality is a huge thing in Disney, so I was a bit worried.
Well, one thing I noticed that about 10 minutes before the presentation was to start, Jill actually like stood outside and was waiting for people to come in. So I found that interesting. Like, I think maybe someone didn't show up because, you know, she was kind of looking like, oh, you know, maybe she was waiting for someone. So, you know, definitely try to be there on time.
And when you get into your presentation room, there will be a lovely alumni or a university student that works there.
I didn't have that though.
You didn't?
So I didn't have any alumni, which was weird.
Okay,
so
well,
it depends, yeah.
I think they may have got alumni from that university. My interview was at the University of Queensland, and there were 3 University of Queensland alumni students, but they greeted me there and then told me to go to Jill. I walked to Jill, I gave her my ID, I gave her my student ID, and Jill just ticked me off and said, your interview is at 1 to 2. Have a seat. We were fortunate enough to have met some wonderful girls the weekend before and had dinner with them, so we already knew some people and had friends to sit with as well.
That is very good, because usually there's a Facebook group, so making use of those Facebook groups is so important, because like Brooke said, we met some really amazing girls through there, and it was just so good to just calm our nerves and, you know, talk about the interview and actually meet up beforehand. And it's good for Jill, you know, see you talking with others and making those friends. You know, they could even be your roommates, you know, so you've got to like, kind of like think ahead for those type of things. You know, on a day, like we're not there yet, but you know, like on a day when you're not working, you've always like got those people, so I think that's important.
Definitely. So I did write down 4 pages of the presentation for your knowledge and Georgia's knowledge as well, because she was the day after me. So basically, it is I thought it was going to be a large lecture theatre. It's not. It's just a little classroom with some tables and chairs and everything. They play all these wonderful videos. My friend and I pretty much cried. It was so much, and you just get so excited. They are also all about preparing, learning, and for experience. So it will prepare you for a global career. You will learn all of the leadership in Disney World, and you will also experience so many different types of culture. So for when you get your interview, you are invited to get a role checklist as well. This is where they give you a list of roles and you say highly interested or not interested at all.
Or moderate.
Or moderate interest. Yeah. So I put high interest for character attendant, merchandise, and attractions. I put moderate to low interest for pretty much everything else. I put no interest for lifeguard because that does not interest me whatsoever, and you have to do like monthly beep tests, like of how good of a swimmer you are.
We're not the most athletically
no.
So we stepped away from that.
That's what we did. What did you apply for?
So for I think it's kind of like an unspoken thing that you kind of have like a top 3, but you don't have to. That's just what Brooke and I did.
Yeah.
For my top 3, I put character attendant, character performer, and attractions. And then I put moderate for like things like cedar and merchandise, I think. Yeah, and then like no interest for quick service. You know.
So Jill will have this list in your interview, and it will spark some interview questions as well.
So for the actual interview, it's actually so casual. Like I prepared a lot, but it's very, very casual. But it's kind of dangerous in a sense because, you know, you can kind of get on a tangent. So just try to, you know, speak, but like stay within what she's asking. You know, typical questions, like not saying she will ask you these, but, you know, why do you want to work for Disney? And, you know, what role do you want most? And, you know, you can say things about that and, you know, talk about your experience. One thing that I found was I've actually graduated university just recently. So she was asking me things like, what have you done in that time that you've been graduated? And I got to talk about that, and you got to speak about your work experience as well.
Yes, so before my interview, at the end of the presentation, Jill makes it very clear it's just a conversational chat, and she just wants to know your personality and everything. So I prepared a lot, and I was worried I'd be quite robotic, but I do have extreme anxieties, so I thought even if I did prepare, I'd have some kind of sense of what I would do. So she got me, I went into the interview, and we talked about her shopping trip, asked her about her day. That's great because she sees that you care. And so we asked about her shopping trip in Brisbane, that was great. And then she just asked me, why do you want to participate in the program? What are you doing at university? All of my work experience, and also if I had lived alone before. I haven't lived alone, but I have gone to Japan and lived with a host family before, so I did use that as my living alone kind of experience. And then she went on to tell me my top 3 roles, and I confirmed those. My interview was a little bit strange because I didn't get asked the normal questions that a lot of people did. I didn't get asked what my favorite one was. I started talking about character attendant randomly, like I was so nervous, so I cannot remember how I got there, but I just know that we started talking about character attendance, and then she told me the rules of character attendant. I said, yeah, that's great. And then she said, okay, any questions? I asked about the volunteers program, so you get to visit sick kids in hospital, you get to go to elementary schools and talk to them about Australia. And then that was the end. I wished her a safe flight home, and I just went back and I waited with my friends. It is important, I think, to have been chatting with people when she sees and comes and get you, because it does show that you're communicating with everyone. And I even waited with one of my friends until her interview, so when Jill got out and got more people, she saw that I was still there and chatting with everyone as well, which I think very important.
So when you have finished your interview, and actually in the presentation they say that they hope to get all the results back to you within the next week, but that's only for us because we were the last week of the Australia interviews. So for instance, the people in Melbourne were a week before us, they had to wait for 2 weeks, but we only waited for a week, which was really good.
Well, actually a week and 3 days.
A week and 3 days,
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, all of that.
Well, Jill said, because Jill has to fly back to America, and she told us in the weekend of that week she will make sure absolutely everything is out. But also keep in mind when you wake up every single morning to check your emails, it is the day. So if you're checking on Tuesday, it's a Monday in America. So just keep that in mind. That was so frustrating for us. But yeah,
it was really fun. Like, you know, talking with everyone in the Facebook group, and yeah, it was really fun. Thank you for watching our video. We really hope this helps some people who are either going for the January 2019 arrival date or just, you know, interested about the program. And we really hope that we can really help, you know, with the cultural exchange program, because you know there's not a lot of videos out there.
You can also follow our journey on our Instagram page. It's just our.disney.diary. It's going to be right here with our wonderful logo. There we'll just show all of our fun things. You can even DM us on Instagram if you if you have questions, or comment down below, whatever as well. Please make sure that you click that subscribe button down there and do the little notification bell, because we all know how YouTube is.
Why wouldn't you want to hear another video from us?
Why would you not want to hear some 2 wonderful Australians? Great.
Beautiful.
Woohoo. Well, please join us next week while we will be talking about our acceptances and possibly some role reveals.
Maybe. Or yeah, we'll see how we feel.
We'll see. Okay.
Okay, thanks guys.
Bye.